Hello and welcome to today's presentation. Today's presentation we are looking at anatomical movements. So what are anatomical movements? These are various ways in which the human joints and anatomical muscles they work together to create motion. So these motions could range from simple just like gesturing to complex one like running and dancing and so on. Okay, so let's look at the different types of movements. So number one, we have flexion, and flexion is the movement that decreases the angle between two articulating bones. So figure out this elbow joint. We have the humerus, the radius, and not forgetting the ulna. So what is flexion? Flexion is the reduction of the angle between these two articulating bones. So we can flex, okay, flex. We can also flex the lower limb, okay? We have the femur and the tibia, not forgetting the fibula. So now flexion is the reduction of the angle between the two. So flexion, okay? Flexion. Remember, flexion is opposite to extension, whereas flexion is reducing the angle between the two, extension is increasing the angle between the two articulating bones. So we have flexion and then we have extension, guys. Flexion, extension. Whereas the lower limb, we could have the flexion and then we can have the extension. Okay? So those are the two different contrasting movements. Extension and flexion. The next one we have the abduction and adduction. So while adduction is the movement of the body parts away from the midline, guys. This is the midline, guys. Okay, so movement away from the midline. We term it as abduction. Okay, so abduction. Okay, so this is opposite to the movement of the body parts towards the midline. So we have abduction, adduction. Okay, if you have the two, the lower limbs, we could be talking of abduction, adduction. Okay, abduction, adduction. Correct, guys. Next type of movement we have circumduction, and circumduction is a complex movement that involves a combination of flexion, extension, abduction, and adduction. We can demonstrate it using the upper limb. Okay, so the upper limb moves in a cone-like shape. Okay, circular motion. So like if you have here the upper limbs are in an anatomical position, we can start by when you want to rotate. So you're going to flex, extend, abduct, and then adduct. Okay? So flex, extend, abduct, adduct. That is the type of movement that we call circumduction. Circumduction is closely related to rotation, where rotation we say is the movement where a bone turns on its own axis within a joint. So figure out the neck joint, okay? So in the neck joint, we have the rotation. We can be able to demonstrate rotation. Just saying, and this rotation is very important because it helps us to say no, okay? No, 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 no rotation, okay? Correct, guys. Next, we have plantar flexion and dorsiflexion, okay? So while plantar flexion is the movement of the pointing of the toes away from the body, dorsiflexion is movement towards. So we can have plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Okay? So when the ladies are tiptoeing, okay, tiptoeing, that is plantar flexion. Okay? So plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Plantar flexion, dorsiflexion. Those are the two types of movement. Next we have evasion and aversion. So eversion is the movement of the sole of the feet from the midline of the body, okay? Whereas inversion is the movement of the sole of the foot towards the midline of the body. So we have eversion, inversion, eversion, inversion, okay? So we could have the eversion out, eversion in, eversion, inversion. And these movements are very important in talipes, okay? Correct, guys. Next, we have supination and pronation. So this is the turning of the palm of the hand upward or forward, whereas pronation is the turning of the palm of the hand downward. So we have supination and pronation. Supination and pronation. Okay? Supination, pronation. Supination, pronation. Next, we have protraction and retraction. And this happens in an horizontal plane manner, guys, in a horizontal plane manner. So we have protraction, moving the body part forward in an horizontal manner, okay? And retraction, moving of the part in a horizontal manner, okay? So we have protraction, retraction. Next, we have elevation and depression. So when raising a body part, we call it or we term it elevation, such as shrugging of the shoulders. And depression is lowering the body part, such as lowering the shoulders. So we have elevation and depression. Elevation and depression. Okay? Correct, guys? So next we go to opposition and reposition. Now, one of the most striking personality that I've seen demonstrating this one to perfection is the former president for United States, Donald Trump, okay, where he demonstrates opposition, guys. Okay, so opposition is simply bringing the thumb and another finger together, okay? Opposition, okay? Opposition. And reposition is returning the thumb and the finger from the opposition, okay? Okay, so opposition, reposition, opposition, reposition. Okay, correct, guys. Next, we have lateral rotation of the shoulder and medial rotation of the shoulder. So lateral rotation of the shoulder is the turning the arm at the shoulder so that the palm faces down. Palm faces down. So at the shoulder, palm facing down. Okay, palm facing down. That is lateral rotation. Whereas medial rotation is turning the arm at the shoulder so that the palm faces up. Okay, faces up. That is medial rotation. Medial rotation. Lateral rotation. Lateral rotation. Okay, correct. Next, we have lateral rotation of the hip and medial rotation of the hip. So lateral rotation of the hip, rotating the leg or hip joint outward, whereas medial rotation is rotating the leg or hip joint inward. Okay, so rotating the hip or the leg outward and inward. Okay, lastly we have the lateral tilt, and the lateral tilt is like this one, guys. You bend at the spine sideways. Okay, so guys, those are the different types of anatomical movements. Okay, so remember to know how to apply the anatomical type of movements, and remember to access the free quiz in the description section of this channel just to test your knowledge on anatomical movements. Thank you so much.